All right, so moving on from now that we've talked about absolute values and another type of function that we can have along with our inequality or equalities and linear functions, what we're going to be looking at is family of functions, which many different functions have what's called a parent function. And what the parent function is kind of like the grandfather of all the other ones that it comes from. The main one. All other functions can be brought back to these that fall into that group. So like the first one, it's the simplest form. The first one that I have written up here, y equals x, is for a linear function. So for your straight lines. Y equals x squared is for your parabolas, and then y equals the absolute value of x is the absolute value functions that we talked about previously. And these are the parent functions. They're the simplest, basic, most straightforward functions of these categories. Okay, and what we're going to be talking about is how we can change these and adjust them based on what we have. Okay, so we can shift it left, right, we can shrink them, stretch them, etc., etc. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at. So the first things first is our vertical translation. So when we move something vertically, up or down, okay, all you're going to do, if we're talking about absolute, which is what we're going to keep, we're going to stay close to the absolute right now. If I wanted to move it vertically, so if I wanted to shift it down, okay, let's say down 4 like where this blue one is, all you're going to do is you're just going to go however far you want to shift it. Okay, however far you want to shift it, that's what you're going to tack on to the end of it. So if I wanted to shift it up 3, I would have y equals the absolute value of x plus 3. And that would be a shift up 3. On this graph, as you see, we shifted down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's why I have minus 4. Okay, so that's for a vertical. Vertical, you tack it on outside the absolute. So let's look at this one. So your green one is the first one. And your green one, as we see, is shifted up by 2. So that means we would say that it would be a y equals the absolute value of x plus 2. The next one would be the purple one. The purple one, you see we've shifted down, so it would be y equals the absolute value of x minus 1. Okay, it's only shifted down 1. And the last one, we see it shifted down 1, 2, 3, 4. The orange one shifted down 4, so it'd be minus 4 at the end. Okay, so that's pretty easy. So your vertical shift, your up and down shift, how far up or how far down, you're going to do that at the very end of the function outside the absolute. So outside the absolute is the vertical change. Horizontal change. Now horizontal change, a lot of people get confused with this because of the direction. It kind of goes opposite what you would think. So if you see here, this orange absolute value is shifted over to the right 2. Okay, so it's shifted to the right 2, and we would say that it would be minus 2. Okay. And then the blue one, we shifted it left 3, so we were going to go plus 3. The way that I like to remember this, because I am left-handed, I always say lefties are better. Okay? Lefties are better, so they get the positive. Okay? Lefties are better, they get the positive. Righties are worse, so righties get the negative. Okay? But, however you want to think of it, that's just the way that I like remember it, because I am left-handed. So lefties are better, so that's why it would be plus 3. And when you shift the vertex or that turning point to the left, you're going to be adding inside the absolute. If you shift it to the right, you're going to be subtracting inside the absolute. Okay. So now we can combine these together. So let's look at the first one. The red and blue ones, or not red and blue, red and green. If we look at the red one, we've shifted the red one, or no, let's start with the green one. We've shifted the green one left 1. So that means we're going to add 1 to it inside the absolute. Okay. The red one, we've shifted it right 2.5, about 2.5. So since we're shifting it to the right, okay, it's a horizontal change, it's going to be inside the absolute. So it's going to be plus, or it's going to be minus, because we shifted it right, minus 2.5. And now the last one, you see we've got kind of two changes. We've got our vertical and our horizontal. So the horizontal still goes inside, so we've shifted it to the left. No, we shifted it to the right. We've shifted it to the right one. So we went right one, which would be x minus 1. And then we've shifted it down 3, which would be minus 3. And that would be our function. Okay. So you can combine these together to adjust it. Okay? Alright, now the next thing is your stretching and your shrinking. So when we're talking about stretching and shrinking, we're talking about grabbing it from the top and the bottom. So if you were to stretch it, if you were to grab the top of them and you stretch it out, what's going to happen is it's going to make that V narrower. Okay? And as you see here, the black V is the original. Okay? It's just whatever the original one is. And as you can see, it's got a slope of positive 1 going up. To identify how much of a stretch or how much of a shrink it is, you look at the slope. And so if we look at the purple one, we see that we actually go up 3 over 1, which would be a slope of 3. And so that is greater than 1. Okay, that means it was a stretch. And whatever the slope is of each of the sides are, okay, you're going to put that right out front of the absolute to be multiplied into the absolute. Okay, so a stretch is if it's more than 1. Okay, and then you stretch it out, grabbing it from the top. Now, if you were to take it and you wanted to shrink it, so you take from the top and bottom, and then you smash it together, what's going to happen is that it's going to spread out. It's going to make it flatter and wider. So if the absolute value of A, so again, positive or negative, if you turn it positive and it's between 0 and 1, so it's a decimal like 0 point something, all right, that means you're going to shrink it. Okay, it's going to have a wider one. So as you see here, we actually go up 1 over 2, which would be a slope of 1/2, which is 0.5. And again, that goes out front. So your slope of your sides go out front of the absolutes. Okay, that's your A. Now, if you get a negative, so if your function has a negative absolute, then you just, instead of opening upward, it opens downward. Okay, so you just kind of flip it around. That's if you have a negative number out front of your absolute. Okay? Alright, so writing these functions. So the first thing we want to identify is the changes. So if we look at the red one, we go left 2, which means we're going to go plus 2. So it's going to be x plus 2. And then we don't change it vertically. And now if we look at the slope, we go up 1 over 2, which means we would have y equals 2. So that's for the red one. Now for the blue one, if we look here, we're going right 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going right 4, which would be minus 4. And then we're going up 3. And now its slope would be up 1 over 3, which would be about 1/3. Okay. And now the last one, the green one, you see we're moving right 2. So we're moving right 2, so it'd be x minus 2, because we're moving it right. We're not changing it vertically, so we don't add anything. And now its slope looks like it's down 1 over 2, so it'd be a negative 1/2. Okay, so there would be us writing our functions. And as we see, they all match up. Oh, I guess it would be 1/4. Yeah, this one was a little hard to tell for the graph for the last one. All right, so summary. The A, the number out front of the absolute, is the slope of the sides. HK tells you the turning point. So the one inside tells you the vertical horizontal change, and the one on the outside tells you the vertical change. Okay, it's kind of a summary. All right, your IRAT. So I need you to write the equations. You're going to have y equals something, absolute value of x plus or minus something, and absolute plus or minus, based on the information I give you. So the first one is the vertex I tell you, and the slope of the sides, 12. And the next one I give you the vertex and the slope of the sides, but this one's opening downward. Okay, so it's not, this one is going to be opening like this. This one is opening upward. Okay.